The Dead Next Door is a 1989 American film written and directed and produced and scored by J.R. Bookwalter in his directorial debut. It stars, as far as I can tell, J.R. Bookwalter's friends pretty much. And there's some interesting history with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, as well as some of their other, some of that Michigan crew being involved or attached to this, I should say. The plot follows a government-ran anti-zombie team looking for a cure for the disease, as the zombie epidemic seems to be getting worse at a pretty rapid rate. So, this movie here has been sitting on my shelf for, probably at least a year or two, courtesy of my buddy Scott. I finally got around to watching it, and I'm so glad that I did. Although I wish I had not waited so long. So yeah, I'm clearly late to this. But I can't believe that I don't see more people talking about it, man. Especially with the Sam Raimi connection. Come on. From what I understand, Bookwalter was a massive Evil Dead fan. So he got a hold of Sam and Bruce in the mid-'80s, actually, like around 84, 85. And they liked his short films enough to fund his first film, his first feature length, which is so cool. Unfortunately, though, this didn't lead to like a Sam Raimi-esque career for J.R. Bookwalter, but, it's just still cool nonetheless. I'm sure it's something he'll never forget. And the budget is estimated to be around $125,000. Also, famously, this film was shot on Super 8 camera, likely making it the most expensive Super 8 movie ever recorded. For you younger folks, Super 8 cameras were handheld cameras, not typically used by pros by any means. More like cameras people would buy for, making home movies and whatever, just kind of personal use. Nowadays, that would be seen as a super cool gimmick, but for this film, it was done just purely out of necessity. Bookwalter wanted this to be an epic zombie film, just like his heroes had made. And this would require, a lot of people and money for gore effects, so, using Super 8 film allowed them to use their small budget, for other things. This movie just would have never happened on a 16 or 35 millimeter film. Plus, Bookwalter, had a lot of experience already with Super 8, so did Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. So naturally, it just worked. All things considered, I don't think this film could have possibly been any better. And Bookwalter's, drive and ambition and just raw passion is just so infectious. You can feel it in every second of this movie. Some movies have some charm, but The Dead Next Door is all charm. This movie is built on charm. The classic horror references with characters named Raimi, Savini, Romero, and Carpenter. It's just an adorable love letter to horror. So the beginning of the movie shows basically the origin of the zombie outbreak in Akron, Ohio. It's a little vague, I suppose you could say, and but it's not really super important. It looks like pretty much a doctor, keeping zombies in his basement for research. Until they escape, that is. Not the most unique setup for a zombie movie, but worry not. Because after these zombies escape, they go and rent a stack of horror movies at a local video rental store. Priceless. And then, completing the 1-2 punch is the obligatory, news anchor scene, warning everyone of the impending undead onslaught. Again, just pure charm. Pure charm. Then you meet the zombie squad, like I talked about earlier, a government-enlisted team of soldiers to try and stop the growing numbers of zombies. And working with them is Dr. Molson, trying to come up with a cure for the zombie virus, which he believes can be found in Akron, Ohio. Like I said, the original outbreak site. Again, not the most original plot, but Bookwalter did add, he did add to that by incorporating a religious group that protests the killing of zombies. So that little idea, just added enough, forward thinking, just as Romero had always basically intended, right? Which, not surprisingly, seems to be the inspiration here. I mean, this is it's a love letter to the genre overall, but it's definitely a love letter to George Romero for sure. The acting, across the board is pretty amateur. Which is fine, because this movie could not have been made with, established actors, on the payroll. Just, it would have never happened. So, I'm okay with sacrificing, great performances or whatever. But, the characters are fun enough. And the movie is just so cool that, again, you can overlook a lot of things with this movie. And I'm not looking to try and really like criticize it much. You know, I'm not gonna put this movie through the ringer, if I'm being honest. Like, it's hard to when you're having fun like this, watching a movie like this, and I can't really, honestly, I can't really sing J.R. Bookwalter's praise enough. His surprisingly solid cinematography skills, you know, showing nods to legends like Cundy, Romero, and Raimi, of course. You know, even his editing here is surprisingly decent. The film took 4 years to make, and I do wonder if, you know, maybe it would have been more successful, and, you know, maybe Bookwalter would have been a bigger name had it not taken so long. But, you know, he's a legend in his own right, don't get me wrong. You know, for what it is, I look at this movie as a 10 out of 10. But, you know, I'm giving The Dead Next Door a 7.5 out of 10. You know, just simply because I just have not seen many movies quite like this. I mean, I know I talk about this type of thing a lot, but this is a prime example of just, you know, what you can do with a smaller budget when you have the right people. I mean, this you could just feel like the kinetic energy right from the start of this movie. Some of the zombie scenes are actually pretty like big and epic in scale. There's even some some scenes shot like in inner city, because you know, this film was shot in Akron, Ohio, and also part of Washington D.C. So there's some inner city parts, which I'm not gonna level any accusations. I don't know if they had you know, permission to do that. I almost kind of doubt it, which makes it, you know, that much more awesome. But yeah, this movie's just so cool. The gore effects, man, the practical gore effects. I don't think I talked about them enough in this review, because they're just off the hook and just so much fun. This is a bloody, bloody, bloody masterpiece. You know, you can almost set, you know, low budget masterpiece, but masterpiece nonetheless. You could almost like put this next to, you know, people love Dead Alive, you know, and I love Dead Alive too. Maybe this isn't quite as good as Dead Alive, but man, it's close. It was a true labor of love. And if you haven't seen this movie and you're a zombie fan, you know, this needs to be a top priority for you. Let's just get this elevated to the top tier hidden gem that it is. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex.
Subscribe right now, please.